Coming up on First Updates now is time to do the rankings, the tier rankings for FRC games 2000 through 2022. Christine and I are going to break down each one of these. We're going to go through them in a random order. And of course, if you're watching live in chat, we'll have Twitch polls up for you to vote on where you feel each one of these should land. So hopefully a great time. Can't wait to go through all these rankings. Get ready for fun. Your destination for first content, updates, and gaming.
Welcome to the fun.
First Updates Now is supported by Stryker Careers. If you are a college student or recent graduate looking for an incredible internship, take a look at Stryker. Stryker provides a housing stipend, great pay, and an opportunity to work with state-of-the-art medical technology equipment. Discover why so many First alumni are coming to Stryker for their internship or career at careers.stryker.com. First Updates Now is supported by the Milwaukee School of Engineering. MSOE offers week-long summer camps where high school students get to preview college by living on campus, exploring engineering programs, experimenting in labs, meeting with professors, and participating in fun group activities. Are you ready to experience STEM at MSOE? Visit msoe.edu/summer to learn more and register. Welcome to First Updates Now for May 17th, 2022. I'm your host, Tyler Olds, and joining me today is my co-host from Wordplay All Day, from FRC 125, and of course the FRC Top 25 show. It's Christina Tia. Hey, Christine, welcome back.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
It's going to be a great day today.
Good to be back.
Yeah. And I also put in, I didn't read it, but I put in the text, first bestie, by the way, I think is a good term for you, Christine. So, but yeah, we're excited to go through and talk about tier rankings and going through all the games that Christine and I have been through. So I know for many of this is going to be a trip down history of FRC. But Christine, how long have you been in FRC for?
So my first year was in 1998 when I was in third grade. My grandfather was a mentor on Team 175 out of Enfield, Connecticut, and he was a engineer at the time. It was Hamilton Standard, which is now Raytheon Systems.
Sure.
And they roped him in to help the local high school, and he kind of invited us over a little bit. And then we went to, my first event was the Johnson Johnson Regional at Rutgers University in 1998. And then I think we won that year, and the rest is history, because it was like, you're going to Disney. And I was like, yeah,
right?
We're never not going to one of these again. And here we are now. So
here we are.
Yeah.
That's so many, 25 years, huh? So holy crap. Or 25 seasons at least.
Yeah, long time. What about you, Tyler?
My first year was 2001 as a freshman in high school. So I'm 2001 on. I feel really good with. We're going to start at 2000, which I'm a bit familiar with because, all the upperclassmen when I was coming in was that, one thing I'll tell you, a real quick story on my end is that I definitely came so close to quitting FRC after my freshman year. And it's so weird to think about not having that in my life after it's been around for so long. I had the team had a terrible year, mentors arguing with students arguing with students. And as a freshman, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I just wanted to join because it looked like BattleBots, right? I had a mentor, his name is Steve. He's not even with the program anymore or anything like that, but he listened and heard what I had to say and pulled me back in and told me to give it one more year. And it's crazy to look back and be like, hey, I might not be part of this program if it wasn't for him. So I think that's really, really cool. So yeah, looking forward to going through all these games. Let's explain what we're going to do, by the way, as we go through on this. So we're going to go through seasons 2000 through 2022. I actually just did a random shuffle. Christine doesn't know what it is, by the way. So this is all going to be kind of new. We also don't know what each other's rankings are. So what we're going to do is we'll bring up a year. Spoiler, the first one's 2019 because we had it on screen. And what we're going to do then is talk about the game a little bit, give our opinions, and then we'll give our rankings for it as well, too. And then chat, we'll have a Twitch poll up if you're watching live, so you can vote in there. And, of course, spam chat like crazy. Let us know how you feel about the game. Type a bit more description in chat would be fantastic as well. So other than that, there's no right or wrong to any of this. I mean, I'm right, but other than that, but we're here to have a great time, here to enjoy it and talk about the games, talk about some history as we go through. And the one thing I will tell you all is it's pretty interesting to look back only a few years ago to see how crappy webcast quality was. And it's pretty amazing the last like 4 to 5
Wild,
years,
right?
how far we've come, because you can go back to like 2015 when stuff was still in 4:3 aspect ratio, 480p. And, it's crazy just to think like for a technology based program where we are at now. So I'm excited to go through that. So Christine, do you want to just hop in or anything else to go through?
No. So we're just putting them in like a general like rank group. This
Oh
isn't
yeah.
like
That's
okay.
that's a
Just
great
double
that's a
checking.
great thing to bring. I didn't even talk about that. So that's a great thing to bring up.
Okay, because I'm
Yeah.
always like, am I doing this correctly? I'm
Yeah.
not somebody that typically enters like this type of stuff or like pools and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I
So
would love a quick overview.
yeah, that's a great point. So here's the thing. Once again, there's not a right or wrong for this, and we've had many of you post already in Chief Delphi on that post in there and create your own, which is super cool. And then for us, the way that I kind of view things is one, we can only do 5 because on Twitch we can only have 5 options. So we originally we were gonna have an S tier, and I know a couple of you added. It's kind of weird on the Chief Delphi. People decided they just wanted to add their own tiers. Okay, why not? So, but we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to drag see whatever season we talk about. So if 2019 is the first one, for example, after we determine, we're going to grab one of these. Let's say I'm not saying this is what I rated, but let's say I rated a B and you rated a C. We'll drag and drop those in, and that's kind of how they're going to be on here. Now, an A tier is like the cream of the crop, right? It's one of the best games ever. Should be, a game that if they were ever going to redo a game, this is what we want to replay, sort of thing like that. Maybe, I mean, there's some other games that are bad that I would, probably modify, but these are the games that are like, hey, this is my all-star list. These are my favorite ones, that sort of thing. Go down to F tier. These are ones like never want to touch again, never want to see the light of day, that sort of thing, right? So,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
The color coding that you have is what threw me
Oh,
off
it's
tonight.
just,
I was like,
it's a default color coding. It's
there's a
not,
green on the F.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Because as a
It's just
teacher, I'm
default.
like, huh.
No, I'm glad you
All
brought
good.
that
Okay.
up. So thank you. Yeah, and then once again, there's no right or wrong. So like, there doesn't need to be an even distribution or anything like that. You can just, however we feel it goes into is great on there. And I know I'm gonna have some, a couple on the top, a couple on the bottom, and a lot are gonna be in between for me. But everybody else can do whatever they want for things. So let's hop into the first one and talk about from just a couple years ago, 2019, Destination Deep Space. Which was a very interesting game. Christine, you want to talk a little bit more about what comes to your mind when you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, overall, and I will preface all of this with it is going to be difficult to not be able to factor in like personally being on a team in high
Right.
school and then like being current mentor, like having like a good season personally with my team that
Sure.
year.
Okay.
Like that year was really awesome. I thought it was like a really cool kind of combination of theme and gameplay. We had some really awesome game pieces that year. I really wasn't sure how I was going to feel about the panel
Hatch panels. Yeah.
thingies, whatever, hatch panels. But I think we saw some really incredible robots that year. I think there was a lot of room for really diverse strategy and really diverse approaches to the game itself, and really great ways for every single alliance member to contribute and be important. I hate that I'm going to be starting out as being like, this is an A tier game, but in
All
my
right.
opinion, I will say this is one of my favorite games that I have not only like had to sit and watch many events through, but also been a mentor and like a contributor to a robot that competed in this game. And I also will say it was one of my least favorite games for setup and takedown as somebody that also runs events. So yeah,
That's
that's
fair.
my experience.
And by the way, if you're watching live, we did start the poll in chat, so you can vote on what tier you think this game should be in. So go ahead and do that, and it should be showing up on screen. So we'll see if we can get it up there. But I know it is on the other screen. For some reason, it is on one and not the other. But go ahead and vote that in on there. Now, for me personally, Destination Deep Space, yeah, interesting game. A lot of creativity, I think, that came through. I like that there was kind of like multiple separate things for teams to do. I think is great. So you can be like, okay, this robot, you're going to go do hatch panels, or you're going to attack this rocket, that sort of thing like that. We got to see some pretty cool defense this year. I think back at the Detroit championships were 2056, 11-14 got shut down in the semis, which was a pretty epic moment for that. And then you have the end game, right, with the hab climbing. I thought was really cool as well. I was actually surprised not to see more robots that didn't do like somehow lift another robot up with it, kind of like what we saw in 2018. I thought that was going to carry over on there. But things that pop in my mind: don't touch the grass if you're watching Minute Maid Park, like this one on here. And the only thing, I think two things to me that I will drop it to me to a B tier is going to be finite scoring, right? There was only so much scoring that could be done. If it was filled up, then there was nothing else to do for things. And then the other thing, I can't knock it for this. The Sandstorm to me was an interesting thing. I'm glad it was only around for a year. It kind of brought something different with that. But to me, it was one of those like, kind of okay for that. So I'm going to put it, let's go over to here. So you're going to rank this as an A tier, right?
I'm going to rank it as an A tier.
Right.
And I say that not entirely remembering what the RP kind of average, like,
Yeah.
qualification matches were like.
Well, you had to get a full rocket. That was
years.
pretty difficult in the beginning.
So I mean, I know for our team, like that was one of our main like design strategies, was making sure that like that was the thing that we were best at, was being able to help fulfill that rank point. And I think we saw a good shift towards like making rank points more attainable between then and now. So
Sure.
yeah, but I don't know. In the Sandstorm, it's funny you mentioned that, because I had thought to myself, like, when was the last time we had any other like weird autonomous kind of component that wasn't just an autonomous? And I guess it was 2019, because weird Sandstorm, and before that it was something else that we'll probably get to later on. So
All right, Twitch chat ranking, 62% of you say it is a B tier game. So Twitch chat has it as a B tier game. I don't have a separate one for Twitch chatting here. Just too many windows going on, I think, makes it a little bit difficult to do. It's even a little small right now. So but remember that Twitch chat B tier on that one. Let's move on to our next game, which is going to be, let's say, somewhat recent. I know for many this is a favorite game, and it's going to be 2016 First Stronghold. It was kind of the first year of the trilogy, calling it First X, right? And kind of doing the super themed type games for this on here. Teams had to pick up boulders, shoot them in the goals, had defenses to drive over, and then had a climb at the end for that. Christine, what are your general thoughts on this one?
yeah, I thought it was a good kind of, I don't know, play out of like the theme that they were going for. I thought it was cool how there were different components where like your team could make a banner and stuff. In terms of gameplay, I thought it ended up evolving pretty well between, I think we competed really early that season, maybe week 1 or 2 in Arizona North, which was an awesome event. Probably one of my favorite moments of 2016 was going to that event.
Sure.
And anyway, I think the gameplay evolved really well, but overall, I think it was an okay game. Yeah, I hated setup and teardown.
Yeah.
It was terrible for volunteers.
It was awful. Field reset too.
Yeah.
Was terrible.
Well, just the moving of things, like, yeah. So I mean, I would give it like a B or a C.
There's no BC, so you got to pick one or the other.
I don't know. I'm gonna listen to what you say first.
Okay, fair enough. So for me, there's a couple things, right? So from a team perspective, I like things that I liked about Stronghold. I love the concept of defenses because it gave kit apart robot stuff to do, which at this point we still had a lot of kit apart. We still had robots that didn't move in auto, right? I think a lot of people forget about 2020, 2022, where everybody is doing something at some point. We need to go back in a few years and realize that there was robots that just didn't move or just didn't do anything, right? So to have something where teams could contribute positively in that light and not just have to go play defense an entire match, I'll give that big props for that. I like that. The goals themselves, I'm going to be honest with you, the theming, the thematic part to it, don't care about one bit personally. But the goals themselves, those high goals, I thought were interesting with only being able to carry one boulder at a time. That made it more difficult. The climbing was an interesting element where teams couldn't do it super fast, which I thought was quite interesting on there. You had to go back and take time to line up a lot of times. Where it wasn't like instant climbs, that sort of thing. Things that I didn't like, were mostly non-robot stuff for it, right? You had field reset, the audience selection. You remember that, where like you have to
I was about
in
to say
quals,
that.
where the audience would have to cheer on which fourth or fifth defense came out, that sort of thing. Sorry, that was one of the stupidest things ever. But overall, as a game, I thought it was pretty good. So initially, I had this in a C tier. For me, I'm actually going to put it at a B. I think I've convinced myself that I like this game more than I originally thought. So
Yeah,
for me,
I
I'm
think
going
you've
to put it as
convinced
a
me
B.
as well. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a B on that one too, because I was trying to remember like different components that you had brought up actually, like the fact that just moving back and forth across like the different hazards or the whatevers, it was a way for everybody to contribute. So
Yeah.
I would agree that
Twitch chat, 72% saying A for them. So they really like
in
this game a
selection.
lot. So yeah, I've seen a lot of people who seem to like this a lot for things. I will tell you, there was times where I remember them being like a 15-minute downtime because matches trying to bust out like the portcullis or something like that to try to put in a new defense was pretty ridiculous. So, all right, let's keep moving on here. Our next one, let's go back in time quite a bit here, and we're gonna go to 2002 Zone Zeal. So if you haven't seen this game, Zone Zeal.
Yes.
Is a game
The Beast.
where, the Beast. This actually was one of the most epic matches. Sincerely, I'll go into mine. I think this game, reflecting back, was really boring, but this was an incredible match where you had Wild Sting lose the regional against Beatty Beast because they scored on the wrong goal. They scored on the opponent's goal, essentially. It was a possession-based game, so depending where the goals were. But you had 5 zones. You had to get the goals in a certain area. Soccer balls were worth a point. Goals were worth 10 points. I don't know how the heck I remember that. And then you had one of the first iterations of mini bots. You actually could have a tethered robot or something like that that would zip across the field, and if it was in your home zone, you got bonus points. And do you remember Wild Sting's robot from that year where they had the tongue that came out? It was like a coiled spring. That was crazy. So so I'll let you talk a little bit. I got to start the poll. Any general thoughts for 2002 Zone Zeal?
I can't believe I sat through like an entire season's worth of events with that. And by entire season, I mean like 2 regionals and champs. Because, I mean, as cool as it is looking back on it, that's all it was.
Yeah.
I mean, there was definitely a bit more shoving. Like, not everybody had to go and face the Beast. Thank God.
I did.
But I know some of us East Coasters did not.
Yeah.
Not until champs, at least. But it was definitely like a first, like Tyler said, where teams were doing some really weird, squirrely, cool like things, like with a tape measure. Rich Wallace 3620 just mentioned that in chat. I was gonna say that because there were teams that had like these little tape measure robots that would just go all the way to the end of the field.
Right.
And I just remember being like, wow, like that's such a cool idea. And there's Wild Sting's robot right there, just popping them in.
That was actually what caused them to lose. Was putting those 2 in.
Yep.
From that regional. So big shout out, by the way, Kevin Koloje, who was the director of AndyMark until just recently, as the dude in the Hawaiian shirt in that picture, by the way. So I feel so old. A couple things on my end. I did play against, so I actually played against Beatty, lost them in the semis at the Midwest Regional. This is the reason why metal can't touch carpet, because everybody started using metal file cards on the carpet, and we're just ripping holes, chunks into the carpet. For things at championships, I didn't play against them, and then at IRI I played with them, and Andy Baker red carded our alliance in the finals at IRI. I still give him crap about that occasionally, but because of an entanglement issue, one of the robots on the opposing alliance entangled in the Beatty's arm. Beatty was ruled that they were the entanglement hazard, ergo they got the red card on it. So, but yeah, I'll agree with you overall. Looking back, other than my favorite thing being the police lights on the robots, which I still wish they'd bring back. It was pretty boring otherwise. So I'm going to put this as a D tier personally.
Yeah, I had it down in the D category.
All right.
This was the time though when there were no like big flashy field components really.
Yeah. Let's end the poll on there where we're at. Overall, D tier is the agreement. Few C, couple B, couple F, no A's. So overall, not a very in favor of games. So fair enough on that. All right, let's keep moving. Let's go back a decade instead, and we're going to go to 2011 Locomotion. This is a very love-hate game for me. On their teams had to pick up rings, inner tubes of different shapes of the first logo, put them onto pegs. This was a finite scoring game. You can only score so many things based on the pegs. There were a couple matches, I think, where they got full. It wasn't too common. And then at the end of the match, you had a mini-bot race that required to be made out of Tetris parts, which was, I think, the big stickler for me, which I'll get into. But Christine, general thoughts about 2011 Locomotion?
I was really excited at kickoff for this game because my senior year in 2007 was inflatable like inner tubes. They were all circles that time, but it was like, yeah, another like inflatables game. And it ended up just being too many things in this game, in my opinion. And I mean, I'm sure we'll get into mini bots very soon, but mini bots definitely were like oh wow, this is so cool, but then ended up being way too much of a, make or break. I don't know. And I'm trying to remember, you could descore the autonomous tube, right?
I don't remember. I know in 2007 you could. I don't recall if it in 2011 if you could as well. Maybe somebody in chat can tell us.
Perhaps.
Yeah, so for me, this game, love hate on that. Overall, I actually thought the action of this game was pretty good. I liked Autonomous. It was one of the first years where you had multi-game scoring Autonomous. That was like a bigger game piece where you had people scoring the yellow rings, which were called keepers. So they pick them up and put them on, that sort of thing like that. I don't know which division you were on, Christine, but I was on one of the divisions that was in the pits because this was the year of the Will.i.am and Black Eyed Peas concert. So that was interesting to play an entire thing in the pits, which is kind of a precursor to how things are now, I guess. But yeah.
Oh, UberTube.
Excuse me. Yeah, UberTube. Thank you. Yeah. The mini-bot race, I actually love the concept of it. I think it was pretty cool where it's like at the end, final 15 seconds, first, second, third, fourth, you get points based on that. You could actually defend teams from climbing into it as long as you didn't touch their platform. You could actually play some active defense on that, which I thought was pretty cool. But two things. One, this will stick in my mind. 118 Robonauts, I think, spoiled the secret sauce way back then when they showed how to direct drive onto there, and then everybody started doing that, and that was before regional started. And then, which is fine. Now, looking back now, I don't care, but at the time, you're like, oh no, why did they do that? And then the thing about them being required to be Tetrix, we lost a regional based on breakers popping farm because we were trying to put so much amps through the breakers, so much current through it that we lost the Midwest regional because of that. So yeah, I mean that's kind of my thing. I love some things, don't like some things about this as well. So where are you putting this one?
I thought it was, I don't know, because as a game, yeah, I thought, like you said, like last 15 seconds, awesome. But when you factor in like the reality of like the inconsistency of, the touchpads and all this other stuff. But that aside, I think it's I'm gonna say a C tier game.
Man, I feel like we're gonna mesh up on a lot of stuff here, so I also have it as a C tier as well for this. I could put in B. I honestly think if it didn't have the Tetrix things, I could see this as an A tier personally. Chat ranking as a D tier on there. Pretty split though. Nobody ranking it F. One person A, 23% C, 31% B, and then 38% D. So I'd say average is a C on this as well too. So. Yeah, worst motor ever, Tetrix, totally on there. So, all right, next game up on the docket, my senior year, 2004, First Frenzy, raising the bar on this. So, this was the second year of Autonomous. You had a trough full of balls that would dump on the field early in Autonomous. Otherwise, it would dump on the field after 45 seconds, which are those purple balls you see there. And then you actually had the pass in the human players, and only the human players could score them, where you have to shoot them into a stationary big goal or some mobile goals. And then you could put a capper on top of it, which is those big 2X yellow balls, which would double the score. of what's in it. And then at the end of the match, you got, I think it was 50 points for climbing, which you could do at any time as well. This was the last year 2v2 as well, Christine.
Yeah. 2v2. Oh yeah, because your third alliance partner. Yep. So I love this game. This was my freshman year of high school. I have a lot of fond memories of like my entire experience, like building this robot and competing with it. We had a really great human player that year too, who like was not an athlete at all, just like tall and drained shots for days. And I personally really savor and like appreciate this year because on our field at Champs that year, what division were we? Oh, we were in Curie. And in the quarterfinals, our alliance played Brandon's alliance.
Oh,
and
nice.
Beat them, obviously. But they had a really good alliance. It was 190, 179, and Mort 11. And 190 had a crazy robot that year.
Yeah.
So they were probably one of the like most ahead of their time like team with autonomous that year. And they had like a little finger that would like touch the wall
So
because you had to be touching the wall. Oh man, tip overs. Yeah, there was a lot of like gnarly gameplay back in the day. This was pre-bumpers too, so like a lot of smashing, like really full contact. But 190 would go and hang on the bar during autonomous and then put these like thick wings of like, they were like Lexan or something over the bar, and then just reach out with this like mega claw and block the tall goal, the stationary goal, not the mobile goal, and would uncap your doubler. And I just remember during the last match in quarterfinals, we were like up against the like railing at Champs, like screaming our heads off because it was so close. And 190 went to go take the doubler out, and our operator managed to like slam it down last second, and it was like, oh my god. Yeah, one of the highlights of my life. And I know 126 like will forever hate the like 175 of when we were in high school because they were really smart and hung on the side of the bar, like would go up and like back up and hang, and we like took that for Champs so we could actually hang faster. And that actually, I think we managed to hang despite 190 being up and like blocking, because they would block people from hanging too. Because everybody would have these wild telescoping hooks and be like, bloop. Oh man, look at that battery out.
I think as you mentioned, this was probably like one of the last years where you could just pretty much go full contact on robots and then nobody cared. You know, like it was kind of within the rules. Robots were a lot slower back then because your main drive motor was a Bosch drill motor. I think this might have been one of the first years of Sim off the top of my head. But so, yeah, I mean, interesting for that. This was my senior, like I said. So, you know, there was, I think, going to be some bias that this is very near and dear. But overall, I thought it was a pretty complete game for things, right? Now, I will toot our horn for the human player. Our human player won the IRI human player contest. So we were, and then my best friend, Eric, who works for Rev, there's controversy of that because he was at IRI and another team needed a human player, and he won a human player for them, and they beat us in the quarters. So, like, everybody was giving Eric crap for a long time because of that. And I'm sure if he watches this afterwards, he's going to be mad at me. But it's just, you know, funny to see. But the 93 is a robot, the team I was on. I know there's some Annie Baker videos from the Midwest Regional. We had a giant robot that we called the laundry basket, would just open up and catch all the balls. Interesting concept. You know, we were alliance captains at Champs and stuff. But yeah, overall, fun game. Definitely a great trip down memory lane for things. Where do you have this one in your list, Christine?
I would say it's a B. Granted, like game, I mean, we're talking pre-ranking points and all that jazz. So, like overall gameplay, I give it a B. I miss the days of just like full send, smash and bash to some extent. I mean,
there's times I literally just smashing the really robots, and that was totally fine. Like no bumpers at all. You know, like we'd say that robots were built like a BSH, like a brick shit house. You know, so that was always the term that we used in high school. Chat saying C overall. Some people saying it's a B. It probably skews to about a C plus. from chat. I also have it in B. Like I said, we didn't look at each other's lists ahead of time, so this is very much so just us being in sync on a few things. We'll see if we have any others that are not. This might be one of them. So let's see. We're going to talk about 2008 First Overdrive. This is a game where racing theme type game where you'd have to drive around in counterclockwise fashion. There was autonomous was called hybrid mode because people could use this remote, which nobody used. Literally nobody used it. And you could control your robot that way. Always you could just run autonomous. It was supposed to be a Mars rover day lab everything. You had these balls that were on top of these, I don't know what you call them, truss or whatever. You got points for driving your robot around the field. You got points for hurtling your ball over these truss fixtures on there. And then at the end of the match, if you had balls on top of it, back on top where they first started, you get bonus points for that as well. So what memories, good or bad, pop up for you for 2008?
Just really bored. Just a really boring season, like watching events. I mean, it was the biggest game piece ever.
Yeah, these are huge.
It was just a totally new approach to like the game, and I personally just like I couldn't get into it. I loved seeing like obviously like some of the crazy Einstein stuff. Like it, I don't know. It was just boring.
Yeah, I think we're a little spoiled by these flashbacks too, right? Because a lot of these matches I brought up are going to be from either champs or a champs division or an Einstein somewhere. So we're seeing the best of the game, right? And I think most of these games at the highest level are pretty entertaining because there's a lot of action going on, a lot of things happening, right? But yeah, I agree with you. Looking back, if you watch like some regional play for this, where one ball is being thrown over the entire match or something like that, yeah, they got a bit more boring. It's interesting because in the beginning I really didn't like when this game came out, I hated it. I've grown a little bit warmer to it for things. But on the other hand, it's still, it's very simple. I think people who like, other games like 2022, 2014, things like that are probably going to like this game better than those who don't like those games as much on there. So for me, I kind of go back and forth. There's elements out of these big balls. I like this game the best out of those kind of categories, but it wasn't the most exciting game, especially at a regional level for things as well. So where are you putting this for your own rankings?
A D.
Down in D tier.
Uh-huh.
I'm glad I have these in numerical order on my screen. So,
Oh my gosh, get out of my head.
No,
Ew.
Oh, I didn't rank
Okay,
mine yet. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm gonna stick with it.
Now
I
you're
had
gonna
2008. I had 2008 in C. I'm gonna keep it in C. Like I said, I warmed up
Fair
to
enough.
a little bit more for things than what it was. So, chat is very mixed on this. By the way, we have all across the board A through F on this one. So I would say probably settles into a C tier for chat. B is the most common one. I would now actually looking at this, I would say it settles into a B with chat. So I think overall it seems like chat like this one overall, but this is very, very mixed on reactions for this. So very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's going to complete our first third as we go through. Before we go to our next set on there, we're going to take a little quick break to thank one of our sponsors, Milwaukee School of Engineering, who has some amazing summer camps going on right now. If you're interested in learning more about what STEM has to offer for you, especially at a collegiate level, take a look at msoe.edu/summer, and here's a little bit more about their camps. And thanks again to MSOE for their support of First Updates Now. Go check out more about their summer camps, what they have to offer, msoe.edu/summer. Let's keep moving on to our next game on here. So 2009 Lunacy. This was one of the teams I founded, Wave Robotics 2826. This was the first year, rookie year going to this. And man, what a crazy year to go in for a rookie year. I will tell you that, because the first thing, you know what our first thought was? We should do a swerve drive as a rookie team in 2009. That was a terrible idea. But this game overall, you had trailers attached to your robots. Both the robots and human players could shoot in what were called moon rocks. You might notice the floor is white on there. It's called a regolith material. It's meant to simulate the moon and the gravity that it has for it. So robots are slippery. They were required to have slick wheels, very specific slick wheel, if I remember. And then you'd shoot the power cells. Were they power cells? Is that what they're called? That sounds right. Cause I think, or moon rocks,
Yep.
moon rocks. That's what they were.
Moon rocks.
Yeah,
Yep.
so
And then there was a power cell.
yeah, so there's moon rocks, empty cells, power cells. So you'd shoot those into the opposing trailers. The human players could shoot them in, and then you could trade in a certain type of one for an end game one that was worth like 15 points versus 2 points for the supercell. That's what it was, supercell on there. So I'll let you go first to talk more about your feelings on this game, Christine.
I mean, besides the hours delay that I sat through at the Craig State Regional before Dean came out with one of those like weed spraying gardening things
What?
to get rid of this electricity. That was like yeah, they sprayed down the carpet because there was so much static electricity from the regolith and the wheels and whatever else was going on. So that was fun. But it was a really cool game. The fact that everybody had these trailers hitched to them and it was like, oh, gotta escape. And there were so many cool, like, just solutions for dumping out these, like, really bizarre game pieces. There were a lot of just, like, really unique components to the game that we hadn't really seen yet. And I remember the human players were, like, sitting in those, like, little weird...
They were like
plexiglass
strapped
things,
down,
too,
if I
just-
remember correctly. You had to wear like a seatbelt in that or something.
Yeah, you had to be like buckled in. And I think like that was probably one of the first times that human players were like really in the thick of it too, which is pretty cool because that hadn't happened and it didn't happen again for a long time after that.
Yeah.
But overall, like I think once gameplay got past the whole like we need to sit for hours because of massive field issues, it got better. Like it definitely got interesting, and even if you weren't a great like team or you didn't have a lot to offer, like everybody had that same like we all have this trailer hitched to us and we're all on this like weird floor. So you know, even if you had a swerve drive like your team did, or you know 1717, which like seeing that robot in person was nuts.
Yeah.
That was really cool. But overall, like I think it was a pretty good game
So where are you putting this one?
in a weird way. The crappy thing is like I don't remember what the ranking system was like that year, and I know that like that's always like a strong argument at this point.
Yeah, I don't remember
But
either.
I don't know either. Do like B, I guess.
Okay, B for Christine. I think we're gonna differ here a bit. So for me, this is Einstein, and this seems boring to me for being Einstein, to be honest with you. This is one of the games. It just was slow. There's a lot of scoring. I'll give it some props for that. There was plenty of scoring. As Richard posted in chat too, this was one of the few years where pinning was an offensive strategy. We got to see a lot more implementations of like spin dexters than we've ever seen before, which I thought was really cool. But just overall, it just seems slow to me. I think if this game didn't have regolift, I would like this game way more. Like if you would have had just normal wheels on a normal carpet and driving around with trailers like this, I would have probably had this in a B tier for me personally.
There's the game that we need back.
Yeah.
I never would have thought of that. Oh,
Yeah,
that'd be so badass.
So for me, this goes into a D tier personally. Not as big a fan of this game as others, but that's all right. And let's see what Twitch chat actually hates it. They put it as an F.
Yeah.
So
I don't know why I gave it a B. I was actually leaning more towards C, and I was
no
like,
regrets. Whatever you say first is what it is, right? We can't change it.
whatever.
So.
I'm not asking you to change. I'm not asking you to change it. I'm just openly regretting it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I should say. Twitch is actually pretty split because there's still 22% both A and 22% B. So there are people who like this game as well. So very interesting on that. Let's keep moving on. Let's go quite recent. And we're going to go into 2020 Infinite Recharge, or Cut Short Recharge, really is what this should be called. On there. So 2020 game, Infinite Recharge. I'm not going to really go into much. You pick up balls, shoot them in the holes, different points for that. You can spin the color wheel, which nobody did. Also called the control panel, which nobody called it. And then you would balance on the shield generator switch at the end of the match for bonus points. Christine, other than that, this was cut short. How do you feel about it?
It would have been good, I guess. I don't know. This season basically didn't exist to me because we never fielded a robot. So sounds so stupid, but I genuinely did not get into the season enough. Or I didn't. I don't know. I watched off seasons. I thought it was. We played one off season. We played at Battle Cry because that was awesomely put on. But other than that, no. So I don't know.
Yeah.
In theory, good, I guess, but.
Good. Yeah. So I did get to go to a lot of off seasons in 2021. I know the game was slightly different in 2021, but we're going to lump these together on this. So for me, I actually loved this game. I don't know, on Chief Delphi, man, I feel like not nearly enough people are rating this game high. I don't know if it's just they didn't get the experience enough, or they just forgot what it was. But I'll tell you, if you want the Chessie Champs, this game was freaking awesome. The back and forth scoring was so cool. It was nonstop. You were able to pick up many game pieces and just, rapid fire them in. The speed that some of these teams shot volleys in, I thought was really cool. There are a couple things I didn't like. The color wheel control panel, don't care at all, right? They could have removed it, and I'd be totally okay with that. The shield generator, I actually like that, where you had to balance it with multiple robots. I thought was a cool aspect for that, where you had it was to me, it was the compromise to cooperation. For other games like in 2012 or in 2015, where you had to work with the other alliance. And this one, you had to, at least do something with your alliance partners to get that bonus ranking point on there. Excuse me. So for me, I actually thought this was an extremely complete game. I'm really disappointed that it, got cut short. I mean, obviously, pandemic sucks, right? We all hate that. But looking at it from a game perspective, I thought there was some really, really awesome potential that could have happened at a championship level. And I think that overall, that Chessie Champs really showed what the completion of this game could be. Between the teams had to go back and forth between the fields. They had the volley. You could play decent defense. To me, I was a really big fan of this game. I thought it was great. And for me, it's going into A tier. Even regardless of the control panel, if you got rid of that, then it becomes the S tier or whatever people are making up for it. But for me, this is an A tier game. I really loved it. How about you, though? I know for you didn't get a lot of experience, as you said, with it, but we got to rank it somewhere. Where do you think it's going to be?
No, I would say overall, if I was able to actually get into the season and kind of follow it more, I liked the components of it, like you were mentioning, and it was going to be a B.
All right.
Overall. So.
Twitch chat has it. Majority say A, but mostly A's and B's on there. So I'd say probably if you were doing median, it'd probably be a B plus sort of thing. B plus, A minus. One person really hated it. So, but other people saying things. Creative Case, am I the only one who likes the control panel? Probably, yeah. It just if the control panel was worth more points, that would have been to me what would have been better. But to only have it worth 10 points after stage 2 or whatever. Yeah. The other thing, the other knock I'll give in this game is that only the elite of the elite were able to get the stage 3, and I will say that as a knock. And if I had to drop it for some reason, that probably would be it. You have, this match and a couple others where those were the only matches where teams were able to do stage 3. And it doesn't mean that it wouldn't have evolved further, as we got more into it. But, yeah. All right, I'm going to digress. Let's put this back over here. So this is where our rankings are at so far. We have a couple things that differ. Overall, pretty similar. Let's see if the next one is going to change it all with some soccer balls. Let's go back to 2010. And what the heck was 2010 even called? Why am I blinking on this one? Do you remember? I know chat will. Breakaway. There we go. Breakaway.
It's Breakaway, baby. Duh.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what?
Oh, Sir Charles. So please, if you do not know who Sir Charles is, look him up on Cheat Delphi or something like that. If you want to hear an experience of a match, please go listen to Sir Charles. But this was a soccer-based game where teams had to pick up soccer balls and put them into their respective lower goals on either the right or left of their aligned station wall. I think it was theirs. It could have been the opposite. I don't remember. And the balls got returned via this big trident into the middle of the field. And then you had 469 who didn't win championships, which I think was probably the biggest surprise of this season, right? It's been not winning champs, but there they are in the middle of the field, literally just breaking the game and funneling these balls. It's kind of hard to see, but they're in the middle of the screen here because this is, horrible quality video, but they're in the middle of the screen just funneling balls the entire time. And Red Alliance was able to actually win this by blocking those balls coming through, even though they were really quick and some quick scoring by Hot Team. Some cool gas shocks at the end too. So, all right, that's about Breakaway. Christine, what are your feelings on this game?
I hated it. I mean, I loved 469. I thought that was brilliant. Overall, just not a fan.
Yeah, I'll say the same thing. Just not a big fan of this. Do you remember in week 1 where they had a rule that you weren't allowed to drive over the soccer balls, and then everybody did, and there were I emceed the Greater Kansas City Regional that year, and I'll have to go back because I might be exaggerating a little bit, but I would not be surprised if close to 25% of the matches had at least one alliance with 0, and about 1 in 8 matches where both alliances had 0 because they both got red carded. Or got so many
That's so
reduced
ridiculous.
points. And then you had the strategy of your score was the losing alliance got the losing alliance's score, and the winning alliance got the winning alliance's score, or like times 2 of the losing alliance's score, or something like that. So you could play a 6v0 match and just let everybody get a ton of points, which teams did until they, I think, ruled that illegal for colluding. Yeah. So yeah, for sure. So I mean, champs. The Einstein was really cool watching 469 go up against this alliance, and then they got the 469 11-14 alliance got beat against Bobcats and Hot. That was very exciting. But the rest of the year, not my favorite for sure. So where are you putting this in your rankings?
Like a D.
Yeah, it was a solid D for me as well. I mean, there were a couple of redeeming things where the gameplay once robots got a little bit better was good. Even lower end robots seemed like they'd be able to push balls in a little bit. So there were some redeeming qualities to it, but this would definitely be a D- for me if we were to put it more like that. That's where I would put it on there. But yeah, solid D for that. We'll end the Twitch poll, see where Twitch is feeling. Solid D by Twitch as well. So. Yeah, Breakaway, not a great game. Apparently, it seems like things go in spans, right? Where there's like multi-years of good games and then kind of bad games. Like my high school, which was 2001 through 2004. Like I feel like I got one good game in high school and that was it. But yeah. Okay, let's keep moving on. 2014 is going to be next up on the docket. So 2014, Aerial Assist. This is a game I think is very polarizing in the FIRST community and very love-hate. On there, you had essentially you were playing robot volleyball. So you had robots picking up these giant balls. You'd have to pass them to each other to get maximum points, and then score them through the goals. And then also you'd have to pass it over that truss bar that's in the middle as well. So on here, you typically only had, after autonomous, only one game piece for each alliance was on the field. So pretty easy to follow on there, but really just depends on if you like the strategy versus only one game piece happening at any given time and what went into that. So we'll start the poll for this. Christine, give us some of your experiences and likes or dislikes of this game.
Yeah, so I had a pretty fun season that year. I know the teams that I was working with both did really well. My hometown team ended up being with 27 and 33 in our division playoffs, and I was just like hamming out so hard. I was like, this is so cool. And then my first year for IRI was actually with 125 for this season, and it was so much fun. some of the best robots that I feel like we've seen from some of the most elite teams, like all happened that year, like 11-14, 254, like 33 was just crazy good that year. There were just so many good teams that year. And I'm like Winovation, oh my God, they were so damn good that
Oh
year.
yeah, Winovation, yeah.
Yeah, like when we look at this game for what it is, like this game, it's it sounds not great. But thinking back to the absolute insane strategic level of like high play that was happening was really, really cool. Yeah, I'm honestly gonna give this game like a B overall. Because it just kept like, I mean, look at the scores. Like they could just keep going and going and going, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's right. You got some interesting autonomous, right? Like, I think this match showed it. Let's go back in it. Sorry about the shaky cam. I thought this one was more steady, but I think I brought in the wrong video for this. So, in the beginning, you had, if you watch on the bottom, you had 254 and then 1114 in the bottom. 1114 is trying to block them. And let's go back to the beginning here. So you look at your left-hand side. Oh, sorry. No, I don't have the screen up. There we go. 1114 is trying to block 254, who's doing a multiple auto. They have a big pull to try to do it. Sometimes they're successful. This time they weren't. So that was cool. And then as he got into the gameplay, the only thing for me that, like, I honestly think this would have been a great, like, 2v2 game personally, having the third robot, there were a lot of times where I know you can say that robot should be doing everything. There were a lot of times where one robot in the alliance really wasn't doing anything for things, and that kind of bored me a bit. I warmed up to this game more over time. I didn't like it as much in the beginning, kind of like 2008. On this, I agree with you. A lot of cool strategy went into this game. Where it's kind of like almost a chess match, right? It was kind of like a soccer match, really. It's like where your players at any given time to get ready for if the ball comes over and what you're going to do, and having the was it called triple cycle? I think is what it's called, or something like that. It was a triple something.
Yeah.
Where it did require you to have all three robots touch the ball. I thought it was great. My team definitely I think the thing that we misjudged. Was at a regional level. We did not think that triple cycles were going to be a thing. Like, we didn't think there's going to be robots good enough to even touch the ball, really. So we built a robot to play a solo game, essentially, and that did not work out for us. So, there could be a little bit of bias on my end from there. I have it rated as a C. Personally, I think there's some cool things about this game. Still, to me, I was bored with this game overall, like watching it. However, I will give it props for being super digestible, especially for people not in first. To actually understand what's going on with this game.
Yeah.
Triple assists. Thank you, chat, by the way. All right, Christine, here's a great one I think you need to give a lot more description on because you have way more experience than I do in this one, and that's going to be 2000. The 2000 game, which is Cooperation First. I totally forgot that term Cooperation has been around that long, but tell us more about what this game is.
Yeah, I honestly had no idea it was called that. So this was one of my favorite games ever. The game pieces were these really awesome playground balls, which right now in Chief Delphi is Robot, which is wonderful. One of my favorite robots that I was like terrified that my team would have to play against at Champs. But the game pieces weren't always round. There were sometimes these really bizarre like egg shapes.
Yeah, they get really deformed. Yeah,
it was interesting. They were super deformed by the end of an event, and sometimes that definitely affected things. So right now, 131 is dumping out pieces because you were allowed to steal game pieces. So 131 Chaos, who is still around and still kicking ass, this is one of the best robots of all time, and they built it that year. So it was the robot that would just go and steal the black game pieces. So those were worth 5 points rather than the 1 point, which were the yellow ones. You could go under the bar on each trough to like get to the other side, or you would have to go up over. And then at the end, you could go and hang in the middle. But yeah.
But you can only really get 2 robots there, right? If I remember correctly, at most.
That was apparently, but like Cheesy Poofs that year had this tiny little like thin hook that would get in there and like hook up and like again full send into like all the other robots there. But yeah, 131's robot that year was like one of a kind badassery. I mean, it's an A tier game for me.
A tier, yeah.
Oh, and Grass Fighter 95, like their robot was shaped like a grasshopper, and they had a scissor lift, and it would like rock back and forth. It was
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah, this game, like I said, this was a year before I started, but I definitely got to experience quite a bit of it. And I saw some of the game before I joined first as well too. So yeah, I really like this game as well too. I think this is one of those games that's been kind of lost in time, right? Where a lot of people just don't remember it, so it's hard to judge. But man, if you look at it, for being in 2000, these robots were pretty fast cyclers, and there was some really cool stuff with that for being that long ago for things. So for me, I have 2000 as a B tier personally, but it's a great game overall. I mean, it's for 2v2 especially, I thought really fit nicely for 2v2. I like that you could descore, like you said. I thought was really cool, and teams were able to do it pretty quick on there. I don't really have anything to knock it, I guess. Like, I really could put it probably in A tier as well too, because I don't have something to knock it on now that I think about it. But I said B, so I'm going to stick with my guns on that one as well.
Yeah.
But a great game overall, and cool to reminisce about, and definitely a game that people don't really ever seem to talk about.
Now, and there were some really, like, looking back on it, some really diverse designs for that game because you were able to go under the, like, goal bars. So a lot of robots were able to, like, kind of compact themselves, or, like, you saw, like, Chief Delphi's huge, like, big arm that went down, like, 173 Rage up in New England, like, had a really similar design that year with, like, a really long intake kind of, like, arm thing, and it was
Sure.
just a really cool game that I think teams were able to be a good hybrid of like offense and defense. And because you were saying like it was like 2v2 at the time, like you did really need that like dual component of like being able to play offense, but then also really hold your ground because the robots were big too. Like they were like slamming around, honking around like in that space. And yeah, anyway, we can move on. I love that game.
So that's going to wrap up our first half of these games going 2000 through 2022. Check out our next video that's going to have more talking about the remainder games as we go through. Can't wait to talk about more of them as well. First Updates Now is supported by the Milwaukee School of Engineering. MSOE offers week-long summer camps where high school students get to preview college by living on campus, exploring engineering programs, experimenting in labs, meeting with professors, and participating in fun group activities. Are you ready to experience STEM at MSOE? Visit msoe.edu/summer to learn more and register. Thanks to Stryker Careers for their support in this video. Apply the skills you gained as a first student or mentor and help change the world at Stryker. Stryker is the top career choice for many of those in first because of their commitment to innovation and saving lives. Learn more about the incredible culture at Stryker and view their thousands of positions available around the world at careers.stryker.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay up to date on our new videos. Keep the conversation going and provide your input to our content. Watch our live shows at twitch.tv/firstupdatesnow. Join our Discord at discord.gg/firstupdatesnow and check out Fun FTC on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and First Updates Now on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.